Hey, and welcome to the Beer Garden. This is another episode of your landscape industry podcast that takes as long as it takes you to enjoy your favorite beverage. I'm Jason. Over there is Brandon.
Takes us to
Brandon,
enjoy our favorite beverage. It
takes
doesn't stop
us,
when
takes
they
you.
and theirs.
It
Yeah.
might.
All right.
All right. How you doing?
Oh, pretty good. How many episodes is this, do you think?
Oh,
Do you
I
know?
don't even know. Dozens. We're in the dozens.
You still having fun?
I'm having fun. What about you?
Yeah. I think I don't know the exact stat, but we've done better than like 99% or 95% of podcasts once you pass like episode 5.
Yeah.
There's some stat around episode 5 that it's most people quit by then.
It's like how
So,
most businesses don't make it past 5 years.
yeah, we beat that too. So
Yeah.
turns out we're determined individuals.
We're really good at just keeping doing the thing. We're not.
Keep
We're
going.
maybe
we
not
shouldn't.
really good at any particular thing. We're just really good at keeping going.
That's right.
All right.
Well,
Well, you want to start us off by telling me what you're drinking?
yeah, I'm doing this similar thing to 2 times ago, I think. The old Crown Float.
Oh, nice.
Guinness and Strongbow. Do you know that there's like I don't know if it's a Canada-wide or worldwide, but there's a shortage on Strongbow. This is like the crappy, in my opinion, Strongbow Gold. It's not the normal. They don't have it anywhere, the real one. So I'm drinking some less.
Any idea why? You have the backstory?
No, I'm sorry, I didn't look that up. I just know there's a shortage, but I'm going to make it. You can watch me on camera again if you want to see that happen.
Gonna use your spoon trick?
Yeah, brought the meth spoon.
I learned that
Okay.
last time. All right, here we go.
Oh, people can see my notes.
It's good. I'll be sure to explain what's happening for those just listening on audio.
All right.
All right.
So I've got the meth. Do you cook meth on spoons? Meth spoon? Coke spoon? What do you cook?
I don't know if it's meth.
You're a rock star. You would know that.
That's a gross misunderstanding. Most of being a rock star consists of riding in a van and playing video games.
Okay, watch this.
All right.
I wish I knew how to zoom.
So Brandon's got the spoon inside of his glass right now, and then which already has the Strongbow, and then he's slowly pouring Guinness over said spoon so that it doesn't just break the plane of the Strongbow. Well, he's a little shaky.
What's
He's got a little bit of a shake there.
What's the word for when you whoa baby.
Okay, now he's overflowing out of his mason jar glass.
Yeah, I don't have pint glasses. Okay, let me hold that up. Look at that.
Oh, nice separation there. Looks good.
Yeah, good.
Well done.
Thank you. What was I going to say? What's the word? I wanted to say meniscus, but that's definitely not it.
I know what you're trying to say.
It's like water tension when it goes above the surface, the top of the glass. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What is that?
Now I think it is meniscus, but that's not right. It's something in that vein. Yeah.
Look that up.
Viscous? No. Viscosity? No.
What is the name of?
All right. While you look
okay,
that up, I'm going to introduce my beverage here. Oh. All right. So,
meniscus.
It is meniscus. See, there you go.
Yeah.
I am drinking from Outer Range Brewing, the Cosmic Sauce, which I love the name of this beer and I love the label of this beer. So this is a West Coast IPA. I've had it before. So if you like West Coast IPAs, this is a great one. I highly recommend it. Very cool can, in my opinion, too. I like the colors. Got kind of a mid-century modern feel to it.
You and your mid-century modern.
Dude, I've been learning so much. Did I tell you I'm going to Palm Springs next week, which is like the mid-century modern capital?
No. You told me you were going away. I didn't want to pry, though.
I was supposed to be going to Hawaii, but Serena decided that was too long of a flight, so we settled on Palm Springs.
Dude, that's a win. You just saved
half
price.
I know. I know.
So today, should we get right into it here?
I guess
Right
so.
into it. 6 minutes into the
I thought you were
show.
going to ask me about a quote or something, but
Oh yeah, I was.
you
Yeah,
prepped with this.
yeah. I told you to get thinking. So now everyone knows it's not on the spot. Okay, favorite quote, Jason. Do you have a favorite quote?
Yes, because you asked me to think of one, and I couldn't think of one at first, but I've got one now. I've got one. I came up with one. My favorite quote is "Hard work never killed anyone," from some dead guy.
That's so stupid.
It's a good quote, right?
Yeah, that's pretty good. All
What's
right.
your favorite quote?
I have quite a few quotes. In fact, I even I have note in my notes app on my phone. I write down quotes that are impactful for me.
Oh man,
What?
I wish I wasn't using my. This would have been perfect for this segment had I thought in advance. I use my phone as my camera, and if I wasn't using it right now, I happen to know on my notepad in my phone, I have a section called just shit that Brandon says, and I've
No
written
way.
things down that you
Are you
say.
serious?
Yeah, I can think
Dude.
of one off the top of my head.
Yeah, please share.
One is this ain't no nail salon. Something that you've
Oh,
said
dude,
here.
that's going to connect with if Eric is listening at work. That one.
The other one
brings
was
back some memories.
we promoted him to a different company.
I'm pretty sure I stole that from somebody else.
That's all right. Yeah. Anyways, sorry,
No, it's the good news is you're getting a promotion. The bad news is it's to another company.
That's good.
I've never used that in real life. I'm not that much of a jerk, but I may save it for the right moment. Okay, so good quote. What you do not change, you choose.
I like that. It's good.
You want a funny one that I added today?
Yeah, I'd like that.
While I was listening to my my musics. So Kanye said, "You've got to crawl before you ball."
All right. I like that.
Yeah. I'd tell you what song it is, but it has a derogatory word in it. It's called
Yep, I know what
Buds, some buds in Paris.
Paris. Yeah. You want to know a funny thing? So this is someone
you tried to stop me. Yep. No. Yeah.
Actually, I was just having dinner with some friends recently, and they said that song ended up being like their young son's favorite song, like young, like toddler age sons. Like he really liked that song. And his favorite thing to do, like he had the song and then he read the words on, like when it's play, like you know how the words of the name of the song, title of the song shows up on your screen or whatever.
Yeah,
He read it, and they had to explain to him like that is a word that you never say under any circumstances.
Whose son? Kanye's son?
No, this is just some friends of ours.
Oh, Kanye's son.
And then they explained to him you can never say that word under any circumstances. And then he asked a question which is very insightful. How do I ask Alexa how to play it? And they're like, oh, I don't know, actually. And I recommend asking Alexa or Siri to play it because she will say a word back that is not that word, but it's like a really, really weird. Yeah. And also really I just found my notes pad. I can get to it on my computer. And I have a good one from you. I don't know what this was in reference to, but one thing that under the shit that Brandon says list is, but if they only examine the books. I don't know what that was in reference to, but I felt it noteworthy to keep for later.
Good. I'm glad. Okay.
Yeah. All right. What are we doing here?
Why don't you tell us about your dinner that you had recently, the multi-course?
Oh man. I guess it's appropriate to share. I live in Colorado. It's legal. It's fine.
It's like you're talking about like what's the word for when you eat humans?
Cannibalism.
Yeah. It's like something so illicit. It's like, I guess I can share about it.
Yeah, no, we had we had a dinner for a friend's 40th birthday recently. That was very cool. We all went to an Airbnb. Some private chefs came in and they cooked us up a 4-course meal, 5-course maybe. Um, and each of the courses, or a handful of the courses, if you wanted it, was infused with marijuana. So it was yeah, it was kind of neat. They would give you a rundown of like, and first of all, it was like amazing food, very good food.
Jason doesn't do marijuana.
No,
Obviously, he
dude.
did. He was in a band. He did a lot more than
Okay.
marijuana, I'm sure.
All right. Yeah, no, yeah, I don't partake, and I haven't in years. Mostly because like my anxiety level and stress level are just at like a constant 10 nowadays. So you add any sort of mind altering substance to that, it's not a great thing. But no, this was nice. It was pretty mellow, depending on how mellow you wanted it. Like you could add more of the sauce or whatever if you wanted
So
it to
you
not
did
be so mellow.
drugs.
Yeah, I guess so. But really, really good food. Couldn't recommend these guys enough. If someone wants to hire them, I'll send you their info. But yeah, like professional chefs coming in made this amazing meal, and it just so happened some of it was infused. And
That is a
I
really
didn't, I
cool
didn't
idea
die.
for a birthday party too. I'm glad you didn't die. I
Yeah.
tried the last time I tried those drugs was we were at the we were like just walking by a strip mall that had a weed store, and they sold like the drinks. I was like, I hate smoking weed or doing weed. How do you say that? Yeah,
Smoking weed.
doing well. You don't just smoke it,
Yeah.
ingesting it.
Yeah.
So
We were so like hip and with
no,
it.
just don't point it out. And so I always wanted like the weakest kind that you could get. Like I've often described it as like, I wish that I could buy whatever the people who make the weed like throw in the garbage, like the shake.
Yeah.
And that would be the strength that I would want. And so I went in the store and I bought like the weakest one that's in a drink form. It was like 2.5 milligrams or grams or whatever. And I drank like half of it and I was on my ass. It was like way
Yeah.
too much. Like I'm never doing this again.
The kids have really ruined that drug.
It's so damn strong. It's
too
like
much.
you take a sip of it and it's the equivalent of pounding a bottle of Everclear.
You know this, but JB and I had a foray. Is that what it's called? We had a foray into
a soiree.
that we
A soiree. That's like a sexual version of a soiree.
We forayed into the CBD industry for a while, and had a business in the CBD industry.
That's right.
Okay.
All out.
And we used to go to meetings with big manufacturers from that like space, and these are guys who like manufacture this stuff every single day. And you would start a business meeting where you're going to like negotiate terms and stuff, and they would just like have gummies on the table or like different things. Some of them would smoke joints, whatever. And that was one of the times where I'd like try something, and like I learned very quickly not to do that.
So it hasn't been that long.
I mean, I had like a gummy or half a gummy at a certain point, but it's just too much. Yeah, too much.
So first story here or topic.
Yeah, we should probably introduce what we're talking about. We haven't even said that yet. But today we're going to be chatting about what to look for when you're choosing a CRM. So in the landscape industry or any company really, like the CRM kind of tends to be the backbone of your operations. So
you're going to want a lot of joints lined up for this search, because this is really boring to look for CRMs.
Yeah. No, but it's an important topic, because CRM software like really kind of streamlines your customer management, your sales, your operations. It's really important to choose the right one based on your company, not just like what your friends are using, those sorts of things. And there's a lot of CRMs out there that aren't built for service businesses. Sometimes that's a good thing, sometimes not. It's ultimately, like I said, most important to know what's going to be important to you, what your existing tech stack is, where the gaps are, what you're trying to solve by implementing the CRM. And so we're just going to kind of break down in a bit of a listicle fashion here. the kind of
Don't say
key
that, dude.
key
We
things
just
to look.
lost all the listeners when you said the listicle. That's like saying moist.
Okay.
Okay, so you'll do a better job at this. So just really quickly, CRM is kind of like a term that's thrown around. It's actually incorrect. It's
Yeah.
customer relationship management is what that stands for, but it's used, and that should be like the search term that you use, because
Yeah.
everybody refers to their stuff as a CRM, but it's actually not correct. So could you explain?
Yeah, so it's not that it's not correct. I mean, you're right. Like a lot of these things are much more than a CRM. A CRM is one piece of it. It's your customer relationship management tool. Most commonly, the things that we think of in our space, in the landscaping and snow removal space, tools like Jobber, LMN, Aspire, Service Autopilot, those sorts of things, those would be better classified as FSMs, or field service management tools. So field service management tools are like handling your job and visit information and like all of that sort of stuff. But oftentimes,
Scheduling and stuff like that.
yeah,
Time tracking.
crew scheduling, time tracking, but oftentimes those FSMs have a CRM component. In fact, almost all of them do. They have to have a CRM component. So oftentimes they're just referred to kind of broadly as
So what's in that
CRMs.
component?
CRM, like in a CRM, you're typically, so you have all of your contact records. So it's the old school Rolodex, right? It's a digital version of your Rolodex. So name, email, phone of all your leads, clients, opportunities, like all those sorts of things. And then it's got all of the history of communications with those individuals as well. So every email, every phone call, like all that stuff should be stored in this one tool, so that it's really a tool meant to allow you to scale your organization really simply. Like if you're just one dude, you maybe don't need a CRM unless you're one dude crushing out thousands of clients and you're having trouble keeping track of them. But like ultimately, it's meant so that anyone in your organization can go to one place to find the information based on every client. So I could go see like Miss Jones was communicated to
And she has
by,
this address, like this job site is Miss Jones's,
yep.
whatever, and that's kind of the CRM component of it.
Exactly, yeah, and also, like, Sam from our team spoke with her last week, Josh spoke with her 2 days ago, and now I'm reaching out to her, so you can kind of all be in one place and see all the different client interactions and communications that have taken place. And then the FSM side would be like all of the job management that you mentioned. Here's all the jobs that Miss Jones has hired us for. Here's, the schedule of those jobs and the crews that perform those jobs and all those sorts of things. So that's just, yeah, good point to bring that up right out of the gates, because it's a little bit of a misnomer.
Would you say almost any size, like I know you just said, if you're a one-man show that, and maybe it's part-time, there's actually, a huge percent of the market that is people that do, just do this on the weekend as a side gig, landscape maintenance, that is. Is there a certain size business where it's a no-brainer that you need a CRM? And is there ever a time where you just shouldn't even bother?
I think it's a good question. My take on it is anytime that you start to add,
Like, I would say certainly if you're like growth minded, like if,
yeah,
let's say that you're so a common example, I don't know if it's the same in the States, but like firefighters up here, they work like 4 days on, 4 days off.
yeah,
um as I understand it, I'm not a firefighter expert, but a lot of them have like side businesses, because they have they just have this extra time, and they often don't plan to grow their landscape company. So if you're in some situation like that where it's just a side gig, you make some extra money, do some spring cleanups in the spring and whatever, then maybe it's just not really necessary. Like you still need to send invoices, maybe use QuickBooks or something, and it has all your customers in there, and that's all you need. So
yeah.
that might be an
I
example.
think I think if you're starting to add crews, so like plural, like more than one crew out in the field,
Yeah.
you may want to add some very basic tools. Maybe it's not a full-on FSM or CRM. Maybe it's just a time tracking tool and a scheduler, even Google Calendar, something like that. But most definitely, as soon as you start to add layers to your management team, meaning it's not just
Definitely.
you managing all this. The second you start to add an office manager, you're going to need something like this, because now you
Yeah.
have multiple people that the customer might be interacting with. And so it's critical that you all have the information all in one place, and it's not your notebook, your shitty notebook that you've been keeping for
Yeah.
20 years.
Yeah. And if you're just planning to grow your business, you
Yeah,
know, you're like, you're going to need it eventually. Like next year, you'll need it. So get a head start this year, kind of a feeling.
totally.
That's how I did it anyway. So yeah.
Cool. So let's hop into the list here. We've got 10 points that we're going to touch on, and we're going to bang through these fairly quick. But really, it's just like what you should be looking for. I do want to just mention this is a big project that you're diving into. So this might not be a fully comprehensive list, but these are kind of the big ones that Brandon and I have learned over the years. So let's get it kicked off with number one here. So first and foremost, like looking for industry specific features. So we touched on this at the top. Um,
Yeah.
there are certainly great tools out there that are not industry specific. And I'll just say out of the gates, like my primary CRM is a tool that is not industry specific. It's HubSpot. And I know Brandon's is as well. Um, it's HubSpot, which is not built for the landscape and snow industry. It's a very customizable tool. But what I would just touch on there and kind of caution you from is if you're just starting out or if you've never had a CRM, like the most customizable tool is probably not the one that you want right out of the gates. Like it's
Yeah.
better to get something that's built for your space, for the industry that you're in, that's already thought through all those things, so you can start with that and learn from that, because otherwise when you get into a tool that's totally customizable, you have no idea it's like you're handed a blank canvas and you have no idea what you're going to paint.
Yeah.
So
And what I've seen with that, so and so HubSpot is my CRM, but it is not my FSM, right?
yeah,
So we don't do our scheduling and our time tracking and our invoicing and our estimating. We don't do that in HubSpot. All we do in HubSpot is email customers and keep track of customers and leads, and it tracks our sales pipeline. So when a new contract opportunity comes in, it tracks those things. But we use LMN in our company. Not saying it's it's not recommended for every scenario, which we'll go through in a minute, but we use that for all those other things that I mentioned.
and that's very common, and that's why I recommend getting into an industry specific tool first before you go into a more generalized or custom CRM. We did the same thing. We were with Jobber for years, over a decade, before we branched into HubSpot, and we started the same way that you did. It was first just for the CRM component and sales pipeline, because again, I mentioned at the top, figuring out where you're lacking in your existing setup and what problem you're trying to solve. In my opinion, when we were using Jobber and we got to a certain scale, it was lacking on the sales side, especially for us because we needed a lot of automation. So we went into HubSpot and we started just with sales. And then we brought like our customer service side into HubSpot with our ticketing system. And then we brought our marketing side in. And then we actually built it out to be an FSM because it is customizable. And we were able to move from Jobber into HubSpot. Not because I didn't like Jobber, but because I wanted to bring everything into one environment. And we were at a scale where it made sense to do so at that point. So,
Right. Right. So some
yeah.
of the worst ones that's going to get me sued. It's like, so some of the best CRMs out there are probably Salesforce and Zoho, but
Yep.
though they're super strong, those CRMs, and like banks and huge institutions, like lots of people use Salesforce and
And
probably
HubSpot.
Zoho
Yep.
and HubSpot. But Salesforce comes with a huge custom build out bill. So I've watched a company that I'm close with in the space spend like $100+ grand outside of the monthly subscription just on paying their developers to build out custom stuff, which that bill might be nothing if you're a huge organization, but just don't be tempted by that if you're under $10 million a year in revenue or something. There's just no way that I can personally see this being worthwhile unless you have grand plans to scale it really, really fast. And even then, it may not be the way. So some of the some of the industry specific ones, like industry specific, just means like it's built for landscaping, or it's built for plumbing, or it's built for whatever. And that means, LMN, landscape management network. It's in the name. Aspire is one. It's owned by Service Titan, but Aspire is their landscaping branch. There's specific ones, and that's worth a look for sure.
Yeah, Jobber, Service Autopilot, Service Titan, which you mentioned if you're not in the landscape industry, but you're in the trades industry. That's a big one for other industries. Really good ones. And when we say industry specific features, really what we're talking about for the most part is like the ability to schedule crews, right? Route optimization, like seasonal work tracking, like the things built for our industry, those sorts of things are already built into the platform rather than you having to custom build it. And some important things to think through when you're looking at these different tools, because even just that list that we rattle off, that's not a comprehensive list, but you're going to spend a lot of time researching all those. I would consider like what's your average job size? If you do low average job size like I do a lot of volume but smaller size jobs, whereas Brandon tends to do like definitely higher than me average job size. So it's a bit more in depth with estimating, but not as much volume.
And so
And a lot.
just really quick, like average job size would be like Jason does a lot of single family homes. So his contracts, like his mowing bill for the month might be 150 or $200. If you do I don't know how much you charge, but in the
More than that.
yours is in the hundreds versus the
Yeah.
thousands, right? So
Yes.
if you do just commercial or institutions or big condo complexes, then your invoices might be $3,000 a month. They're just
Yeah.
different types of businesses. Not
And if you're doing
better.
massive commercial design build jobs and that's all you do, it's even higher job size, right? But there's
Right.
lots,
Yeah.
it's a different flow. So for me, with the lower average job size, what's important to me in a CRM is like tons of automation. I need to be able to automate the entire, like as many steps of our process. When I think about like generating a lead as the first step, right? Like generating a lead, bringing them into our environment and turning them into an opportunity, and then nurturing that opportunity down our sales pipeline into a job or a contract, and then splitting that contract off into jobs and those jobs into visits, and then the execution of those visits and the invoicing. Every step of the process, I want to automate as many steps as possible of that process because we're
Because
not
it's
making a
$200 a
ton
month.
of money off of that yet. So I can't have a human touching every process. Whereas if it's a $400,000 job, I can afford to have a few humans managing that job and looking after every step of the process. So for me, automation is really important. That could be, text and email updates to the clients that happen automatically, all those sorts of things. And then again, because of the volume, I need it to be really fast and efficient to take all those jobs and put them into a route and understand what the most efficient way to get all those things done is. So that route optimization we talked about, route optimization isn't super important if you're sitting on one job for 6 months. Like
Right.
it's not a very important feature.
Right. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. So if your focus is on single family home maintenance, sub $500 a month or whatever, I don't even know how much you guys charge for that. You're looking for a platform that is gonna give you a lot of automation and like multiple people aren't going to have to touch the estimate to estimate Mrs. Jones' house. And it's going to automate billing. It's going to automate follow-ups for accounts receivable. It's going to be super fast to optimize the route for that day. Maybe it gives like text updates or things like that might be, if I only have 3 sites on my cruise day, I can send an email and tell them what's going on, right?
Right.
Because they're big sites, obviously. If I have 20, 25 sites to do in a day, updating all those customers all day is just, not that it's not realistic. It's just not worth your time, or that's not very well put. It's like, it's not worth, you're not going to make very much money on those jobs if you have to do that all the time.
You'll lose all of your margin.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, cool. Go on to the next one.
Yeah. So Number two, this is a big one. We're running field service businesses, right? So meaning your crews are operating remotely. They're not operating from your shop. So number two is ease of use and mobile accessibility. So those are kind of two separate points, right? Like ease of use is important even if you're not out in the field and those sorts of things. One of the most critical things and one of the biggest drop off points in a CRM implementation is team adoption. So if your team doesn't use it, then it's worthless. It doesn't matter how awesome it is and how much you've built it out. Like if it's not usable by your team, or they don't understand the benefits of using it, then it's completely worthless. So that's your ease of use, and then mobile accessibility is critical. Like if your jobs and visits and everything about your clients that your crews need in the field is all in this thing, then you need to be able to access it when you're out on the job sites on a mobile device. So it's very
Absolutely.
important. Should not be overcomplicated. So I talked a lot about like the customization of these like big crazy platforms. Like our system at ACA is very complicated. It's extremely complicated. But
It's true.
for the users in each it's a fairly simple process. They have a step by step, like do this, then do this, then do this, then do this. If you like try to map the whole thing out, if you've ever seen me, I don't think we've ever recorded one of these episodes from my office, but if I'm in my office, there's a giant whiteboard behind me with looks like the ramblings of an insane person all over it. Like that
It's
is
Einstein's chalkboard.
yeah, that was me, like Jonathan and I designing our system and figuring out like how this is all going to tie together. It's a very complicated system, but for the end user, it's simple.
It's like a the hunt for a serial killer or whatever you see in the movie, and they have all
Yeah,
those
the
strings
strings.
connected all over the room.
Pepe
That's what
Sylvia,
Jason's
Pepe
office
Sylvia,
looks like.
Carol. Do you know that reference?
No, I don't know what the
Oh,
fuck you're talking. Now you're singing and shit.
it's always funny reference when Charlie loses his mind working at like a corporate job. He's supposed to be delivering the mail and he thinks he cracked the code and that none of these people exists. He has like the strings going everywhere. It's like, over here, Pepe Sylvia, Carol in HR, Carol.
I love that show.
It turns out they all
Uh,
exist and he was just losing his mind and wasn't delivering them.
okay,
Uh,
I can wrap this one up. So
yeah.
so ease of use, like Jason said, so it's complicated on the office side, which is okay. Like it's okay if it takes some knowledge to run things on the office side. In the field, you want it to be fairly simple. So make sure that you test out the mobile app, and just remember that this is a huge decision. It's a bunch of work to set up. Set all the money and stuff aside, but these are big implementation items. Arguably the most important software that you can implement for your business. If you get it wrong and you have to change to something else, it really sucks. So don't don't rush it, and just really test it out and try the mobile side out, and just make sure it's something that's going to work. Make sure it has a decent offline capability as well. Like if, I don't know, every city I think has some spots where the signal is just kind of not very good. So test it out if that if that happens, and just see how the app works or does not work. And what I think is, no matter how detailed and how granular the data collection is, it's worthless if it's not usable by the crew, right?
Yep.
Like I might want super detailed information. If the crew can't realistically clock in and out of that task, or track it for me in the field, or I just can't hold them accountable to it, then what's the point, right?
Yep. Great point. All right, next one. Something you should definitely be looking for is estimating and proposal tools within the platform. So this is kind of getting back to like it's somewhat unique to our industry, but like generally the FSMs and CRMs, like this is where you're going to be building your estimates and proposals. So, built it. What that looks like is like built-in estimating templates, so you can standardize that estimating process. Again, this is all about scaling, right? So the hope is that you have multiple people creating these estimates, and they need to be consistent across the board. The ability to create digital proposals with e-signatures to streamline your closing process. That's a big one. I'm a big believer in that. Brandon likes to print everything off, but although
Dude,
that's
why
not.
do you keep saying that? It's not true.
I've been giving you a hard time about that this week, but
I like exporting PDFs. I
I
don't
know
print
you
them
do.
all.
Okay.
Jesus.
We've had some debate within IssueID recently about PDFs and digital versions of things, so I've been able to give them a hard time. And then, yeah, just the ability to kind of build your offering in digital format and pass that along. So, pretty simple, that one, but just making sure that their estimating tools and their proposal tools are going to meet your need. And some platforms are better than others. Some platforms are going to have very simply just like a product and services list, like a line item list, and that's it. And you can kind of pull those line items in. And then other tools like LMN is great at this. I'll just give them a shout out. Like their estimating is robust because it works not only off of like your product and services list and allows you to create templates that you can re-access. So like every time you do a patio, it includes these products and services in it. But it also like ties back to your annual budget, your company budget, and so it knows like how much it needs to recover for overhead and what your average utilization rate is and how much time typically is on site versus offsite, and all those things are being considered in the pricing. I think they do just a bang up job of that. I think they're a great tool for
That's
that.
probably a good like bonus feature to look for or mention. I don't know of another CRM. Not that I know. I certainly don't know them all. There's a ton. But if you have no budget, like if you do not budget right now, LMN has a turnkey way to teach you to do that. In fact, you have to set up a budget in order to
Yeah.
use the estimating to its potential. So I don't know if other CRMs have that, but if that's important to you,
Yeah.
put that on your checklist.
It's kind of the only one I'm aware of that really at least does it on the level that they do. And
Yeah.
and again, it comes back to your company, right? Like that's less important to me because we build our budget elsewhere and most of our services, again, it's high volume, low AJS. So there's not a ton of intricacy to all the like estimating. Whereas other companies, that's much more important. Cool.
Cool. So the next one is customer and job tracking. So this is just the ability to track all your customer interactions, their history, job details, all in one spot. One thing that I'll say, like this really is dependent on your company, as many of these things are, is how it handles the relationships between. You'll see it often described as like parent-child relationships.
Yeah, or
So
object relationships.
yeah, in different CRMs. So what that would mean is like, let's say that you work for an individual that owns 20 houses, right? Like they're a landlord and they own 20 homes and they want you to do all of them. The landlord would be like the parent in the CRM, and then they have all these job sites or all these kind of like children things. Another example might be a property manager that has sub job sites, like a bunch of condos or commercial sites. And the advanced version of this that you might need if you work for a lot of these types of relationships, where it's not just like Mrs. Jones and her house, right? Like that's the simple version. If you work for a lot of property managers, or you're going to be getting into a bunch of commercial and things like that, then you want to look for something that's like multiple to multiple relationships. So like what happens if a property manager, like you have a property management company with a bunch of property managers and one of them then has a bunch of properties that they look after, job sites. And then that individual also, what if they live at one of the job sites? Now they're also like a resident of that site, you can see how this can get really complicated. And like that might seem like an extreme example, but that happens, right?
Oh, it happens all the time. And then that job site has multiple contacts associated to it that aren't just that property
Yeah,
manager. It has board members, it has residents. And
right.
then that, like what you're describing is a data schema, as it's called like in the software
Oh,
space. And that is what you see like on my whiteboards in my office is like us envisioning our data schema. And it's a critical part of this as you're choosing this, because if you do have a more complex kind of relationship management sort of um, expectation, like you have property managers and you have boards and you have multiple jobs for all those, like you need to think about these things and make sure that the platform that you choose is going to be able to handle that.
I think I would put an asterisk by that point. Like if you work for those type of customers and you're going to grow, you're going to grow into that space, that's like a absolute deal killer for me. If the
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
CRM can't do
Yeah.
that, I cannot use it no matter if it
Yeah.
does everything else well.
Hmm.
This is why I use HubSpot and Element.
Yep.
Element has a CRM component in it, but it doesn't do that very well. Sorry, Element. So I use HubSpot
Yeah.
because we work for only property managers and boards. So
Yeah. It's
yeah.
critical. So kind of continuing on that like customer and job tracking side of it, I just wanted to say like depending on your business again, but like customer ticketing, so customer interaction ticketing becomes very important. So a lot of these CRMs, they track like all your emails and all your phone calls and everything to that contact. So for example, the property manager, like pretty much any of these, you can pull up the property manager contact and you can see just almost like an activity feed, right? Of like phone call, email, phone call, email. The difference between that and a customer ticketing system is, or service ticketing system is when a customer calls in or emails in or chats in on your chat on your website, it creates an individual ticket for that interaction. So instead of just being like all lost in an activity feed, creates a ticket. And generally this is in like a Kanban board style like workflow that allows you to advance that customer interaction down a pipeline, ultimately with the goal of like closing out that ticket request. You've probably interacted with these 1,000 times. Anytime that you get that email after you call support and you deal with support, and then you get an email afterwards that's like, we've now closed out your ticket. Would you rate us on a 1 to 5 scale? The reason this is important is when you start to have multiple people handling customer interactions and customer situations, like you really need to know who owns that issue. Who's in charge of this thing and who's in charge of making sure that it gets resolved. If a customer calls you with a complaint, like someone's got to own taking that complaint to a resolution and making sure
It's
that
like a
the customer's
workflow
happy.
for that issue. So
Yeah.
it would land in like a stage of new issue, and then it would move along the pipeline to like maybe it's waiting on a customer service agent, and then it's in a stage of waiting on customer, and it might move back and forth there until it's eventually closed,
Yeah.
right? And that's the gist of it, I think.
Yeah, generally, yes. And it can be much more complex, but ultimately what it does is it allows your team to take ownership of those customer interactions and drive them to resolved. So, yeah, customer ticketing system is huge for us again because we do so much volume. Like we have a team of people handling all these things that come in, and it's really important to have that. For other people it's not. Like it's you may just get
Yeah,
away
we
with
don't do that.
using, yeah,
Yeah,
like a
we don't do
shared,
that because we just have larger average job sizes, less communication,
yeah.
and more complex questions. Like they're larger projects, so they're more complex than Mrs. Jones asking, why didn't the guys come on Monday? They usually come on Monday, right?
Right.
Like these kinds of and you'll get a huge volume of those. So
Yeah, absolutely. So it depends on your business size, your job size, all those things. But just wanted to throw that out there.
cool.
What do you got next?
Um, Yeah, I guess one more really quick thing is just customer portals in that section. So customer portals, that's just the thing that your customer could log into to see their invoice status, to see their upcoming jobs. Maybe they can request something, request a quote or something like that. If that's important to you, obviously do some research there. That's one where I would really urge you to, like, some of these features, they'll have a checkbox when you're looking at the software, right? It's like they'll say, yes, we have a customer portal. But there's a huge range of being able to have a customer portal and have it be useful and you be happy with it versus just saying, yes, your customers can log in and update their email or something really basic, right? So just make sure that you don't take it at face value and actually look into it, is my recommendation on that. The next one is number 5 is scheduling and dispatching. So this is something that you're going to be using every single day. So test this out. Drag and drop scheduling for crews and job assignments is a really nice feature to have. Thinking through one thing in here is thinking through what they offer and if it's going to work really well for the services that you offer. So one example I'll give is we do snow removal, and snow removal, we have set routes that we do in a single day, but we don't know which day it's going to land on, right? So in mowing in the summer, you set up your Monday route for crew A, and that's their Monday route all summer. And then you tweak it every week, for rain or something like that. Simple. In winter, we don't know what day it's going to snow. So we have to have routes preset, and we have to be able to stamp them in like no time, because we have a lot of crews, to be able to stamp them in no time at all and get the guys going on that route without knowing what day it's going to be first. So think through things like that on your services. Like Jason does a tremendous amount of one-off services, like thousands of aerations in a very short period. Like, how are you going to schedule all those things? And is it going to work with the offer that this software is presenting to you? Anything you want to add on that, Jason?
No, but just really quick, I was looking this up while you were talking. I just want to give a shout out to our office team when we were talking about customer service tickets. I was looking up, just out of curiosity, how many customer service tickets we handled last year, for example, in 2024. Do you want to take a guess at the number? This would just be like customer service interactions over the course of a year.
I don't know, 5,000?
23,912.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Team of 3 individuals handled that last year. So
that's awesome. Who handled the most? Marty.
Marty did handle a lot. No, on the customer service side, it actually looks like Marlon from our team handled the most last year.
Nice.
He's a rock star.
Marty
but they all crushed.
Marty McTime is Jason's. I'm gonna just put out there, is Jason's bot, and some people think it's a real person that they're talking to. They'll email in and be like, "Hey, Marty told me that you have availability this Thursday," and it's some fake thing.
Oh, people call looking for Marty.
He does really well. Oh, Marty's off today. Okay, so scheduling and dispatching, yeah. So I just think about this component in the way that I described. I would say, like, think of the major services and if they're going to work with the way the software is proposing. Otherwise, it's going to be a deal breaker. If GPS is super important, you might want to understand, how well that works within the platform. And if it, you might have to integrate it with an external GPS system. I don't think we have to get into that too much, but make sure you kind of check your boxes there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else on scheduling and dispatching before we move on?
No, I think we can move on to the next one, which is invoicing and payments. So this is a pretty obvious one, but once you've kind of worked your clients down through the sales pipeline and through the jobs pipeline, you need to get paid for the work. So invoicing and payments is critical. Now, this is an area where I'll just say I see a lot of drop off. Like I see a lot of platforms out there claim to I guess one of the things you'll learn
It's
is like
the same,
a lot
right?
of these.
They like have the checkbox, like we do accounting,
Exactly.
and you're like, oh, they do accounting. Good.
Yeah. a lot of these platforms want to be the all-in-one solution, and if you haven't gathered by now, like, I don't believe there is an all-in-one solution out there. And so they put accounting in there as like, we handle all your accounting. No, they don't. I'll just say that right out of the gates. I haven't seen a single one of these FSMs that handle all of your accounting. You're probably still going to use QuickBooks or Zero or whatever those tools are, like some like one of those major accounting tools. You're still going to use that, but generally it is best to have your invoicing and payments handled in one of these tools, and then integrated with QuickBooks or whatever your accounting software is. Again, typically QuickBooks and those other accounting softwares, those are most often used for like your total accounting picture. Yes, you can invoice
Your
out of them, all
bookkeeping
those.
and whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Taxes, bookkeeping, all that sort of stuff. You can invoice out of them, and you can certainly send all of your invoices out of QuickBooks. But just think about it, like, especially if you're doing high volume, like all of your jobs are in this platform, and if you're invoicing over in this platform, now you got to like take the information, know when it's done here, and then move over into this platform. So it is best, in my opinion, to have your invoicing and payments handled in your CRM or your FSM, and then just have the record of those invoices and payments pushed over to your accounting system, QuickBooks or whatever it may be. So automated invoicing is huge. Like, just, I mean, the reason this is on the list and it's a bullet point is like all these items, like they're critical to the success of your business. You need to get paid on time. We've talked in many episodes about how important cash flow is, all that sort of stuff. So this is where you can really lean in and figure out, does it do the things that I need it to do? Automated invoicing, like for us, that's critical. We're not going to have a human send out every single invoice for every single thing
How
that
many?
we do.
What's your invoice? How many invoices do you send in like a peak in the
Oh
peak
God.
season in a
Um,
month?
I don't have a report for that easily pulled up, but it's thousands. Like, we easily send over 100,000 invoices a year for sure.
Jeez.
Like, it's a lot of invoices. So in a month, we would send, yeah, thousands of invoices. Generally, I think
So
is
someone
pretty
think
accurate.
about it, that if someone has to put their eyes on that, right? And if
Yeah,
you're trying to
there's
scale your business up to be like Jason's, you're not going to want to sit there and review every invoice.
yeah. And so it's, it's being able to automatically send those invoices. So the way a lot of these platforms work is like, you've already generated the estimate, so you know what the customer needs to be billed. You set the terms of like, oh, they're going to pay 50% up front, 50% at the end, or they're going to pay, that's going to be split up into 8 monthly payments or whatever it is, right? You set that at the beginning when you set the job, and then it can automatically send those invoices. Um, Bonus if it can just store a card on file and automatically charge the card, so you don't have to wait for the payment. That just goes back to like the cash flow conversation. um, Online payments, so on those invoices, like having just the link, this is like customer friction thing, right? So like, don't force your customers to pay you by check or cash or whatever. Like, give them an invoice and let them click a link and pay by card or Apple Pay or however they choose to pay. And then I already mentioned the integration with QuickBooks or your accounting software. Like, you need a record of that in your actual accounting software. These tools are not accounting tools, they're just part of the process, the invoicing and
Yeah.
payment process.
Cool. Yeah, and your bookkeeper and accountant aren't going to want to go into whatever you're trying to use for accounting if you don't use QuickBooks Online or whatever. That brings us into the next one, which is integrations. So integrations with other tools. QuickBooks Online must be the most popular
Got to be the
integration
most common.
out there.
Yeah.
So look at what you use today. So you're already changing a CRM. Hopefully, you don't also need to change your accounting software. And you'll want to make sure that whatever you do use on the accounting side already integrates with the CRM. And if it doesn't, you need to understand that what you're going to be up against here, right? Like if Jason had to manually input 100,000 or whatever it is invoices a year into whatever Zero is, that would be terrible, right? If his FSM did not integrate with his accounting software. So just like understand that at the very least, and know what you're getting yourself into there. But luckily, most of them integrate with QuickBooks Online, and that's the most popular one out there.
Right.
Yeah, don't get caught up in the all-in-one talk. they do a lot of things well, but you are going to be disappointed in some part of whatever you sign up for. That's absolutely the case. Jason and I have signed up for, I'm sure, hundreds combined of software applications, and I'm sure a dozen CRMs or FSMs between the two of us over the years. 20 years, for me, just doing landscaping, and I've certainly used a few. None of them do it all. They will check the box, on the when you're lining them up and comparing, like we've said a couple times, but they will not do it always to the level you need. So just beware of that.
And it's an important point, because when we say that integration is important and with other tools, oftentimes if you go in with that on your checklist and you're meeting with the sales rep and you bring that up, a lot of the times their answer is going to be like, well, you won't need any other tools. Like, we're an all-in-one solution. We handle it all. And I'm just, again, we're just speaking from experience here. Like, they don't. Like, they're just not going to cover all their bases. It would be very naive to think they do everything perfectly. There's other tools out there that are better for this little piece or this little piece. So that integration point is very important.
And it will change your business, which is kind of interesting, right? Like if you switch CRMs today, you'll have to change how you do things. Like you kind of have to drink the Kool-Aid. Like you might have to change how you estimate, right? Like you might have to change how you dispatch, and not just from a software perspective, but from a operational perspective of how things actually work with you and your staff. So you end up having to drink the Kool-Aid a little bit, and a lot of times it's for the best. but I don't know what point I'm trying to make there. Hopefully it landed. Anything else on integrations, Jason?
No, I don't think so. I think that pretty well covered it.
Cool. Next one is automation and workflows. I think I'll let you handle this one, Jason. You're the master at this.
Yeah, so this is kind of what we were talking about at the top. So just the ability within the platform to automate repetitive tasks like reminders, follow-ups, status updates, invoicing, maybe those sorts of things.
You good?
Yeah,
Beer's really hitting.
It's really hitting me hard.
Does this count as one drink or two when you?
I think it counts as two. If you
it
drink
feels like two. Yeah.
Yeah.
Feels like two, and they're tall boys as well. So it's actually.
Yeah, it's two.
Right.
So automation doesn't, I think a lot of times when we think about automation, it's just like the system doing the entire task for you. That's not always the case. For me, that's really important, for it to be able to like take tasks off of humans' plates. But a lot of time automation could be as simple as like just reminding someone from your team that they need to send out invoices on a certain date. Whatever those things may be. So really understanding what the platform can do. And again, this is, particular to your business size and style, right? Like for Brandon, some of the automation that we do is like not nearly as important for Brandon, because he doesn't do as many jobs. He just does bigger jobs. But where it does come in handy, like where I see automation being really valuable a lot of the time, typically starts with like the sales and nurturing process, like a lot of automation there. And it could be simple stuff like sequences to nurture your leads, right? Tracking those leads and then nurturing them based on where they're at in the sales cycle. So some automated emails, those sorts of things. But then also for us, like custom workflows for our different services. So again, we talked about scheduling a lot of different jobs, those sorts of things. Like it's just a lot of volume that ends up being a lot of manual data entry unless you have these automation tools. So if that's important to you in your business, make sure that's on your checklist as you're exploring these CRMs.
Totally. Next one is reporting and analytics. So I would approach this with a list of KPIs. If you don't have any, like if you just don't track much data right now, I would almost say every CRM or FSM, whatever, is gonna give you KPIs and give you data and reports. but you're going to want to come into it with like a list of questions. So say, how do I see an individual crew's utilization for the day? How about a week? How about a month? How about my company overall's utilization? How about the revenue per man hour? How about the efficiency on site? Can I see production rates? Like you want to really come into it with a list and know how it's going to be able to be delivered to you, and how it's going to be displayed and used. So that's how I would do it. I wouldn't come in and just get wooed in the sales demo by a fancy looking dashboard, which is going to happen in your sales presentations. They're going to show you something, and it looks beautiful and it's got all these like gauges and pie charts. Pie charts are impressive for sure, but they need to be the be all end all to run your business off of, right? So come in with a list of KPIs and what you want to see, and then determine if it's going to work, or if it's going to provide those things.
Yeah, well said. I don't think I have much to add to that. I guess the one thing I would say is just like to determine that list. Just imagine that you're on vacation and you need to just log into this platform really quick to see how your business is doing back home. Like, what are the key things that you would want to see in there? Like,
Yeah.
it can be a very simple list. Like, how much money do we have on the schedule to be produced today? How much money do we anticipate being collected today or tomorrow? Like, that could be high level metrics like that. Your list will grow exponentially over time the more you dive into this and the more you kind of start building these reports. Like, we've got report after report after report now, but like we started with the
Job
very
costing,
simple ones.
job costing
Oh
is
yeah.
but the job costing is something that a lot of them struggle with or don't do at all. So, if you're doing construction, this is extremely important. Is like, where are we at today? We're on day 17 of a 25-day job. It's like, where are we at with materials and hours? And can you do like live job costing? Is it only after the fact? That's a big one. And we actually have some sidecars and good episodes on KPIs and things you should look at. But yeah, if you want any other ideas, or like just describe your business in the comments, and Jason and I could give you some better or some things that we would look at.
Yeah, maybe even make some recommendations on CRMs based off what we've tested and we've used a lot.
That's true.
Yeah. Cool. So final item here is a pretty obvious one, but something that I think gets overlooked a lot of the time. So the first part of it is pricing, but I would couple with that scalability. And those two things are kind of tied together. Like, how well is the platform going to scale with your business, but also like how much is it going to cost as you scale? So understand their pricing model. Is it per user? Is it per like job? Is it based off your revenue? There are some platforms that do it that way now. And understand what the implication of that is, because just because you have 3 people that need to be in it now doesn't mean that 5 years from now you want to have 30 people that need to be in it. So understanding what the cost implications are there, what it's going to cost you, and then just this is critical, I think, is choosing a CRM that grows with your business. Now, one caveat there is like, you do not, I know we're all like business owners. We all have these like big dreams and aspirations and vision as far as where we're taking our company. You do not need the end product right now. And that is a trap that I've fallen into many times in my career, is like, I have a crew, I have like 3 crews, and I'm buying a system that's built for having like 50 crews, right? Because I'm going to grow into it someday. You don't need to do that, but you do need the CRM. Like, this is going to be a big implementation. It's going to take you time, and it is a pain to change CRMs. It's your core business structure. And as Brandon mentioned, like, it will dictate kind of how you operate your business in some ways. So like, you don't want to change this every year. It's likely going to need to last you for a while. So make sure that you can grow into it.
Crews and people, like, imagine what's involved with changing it, right? Like you just need to strike a balance here. Like, you need to strike a balance between like, can we grow into this? Is this going to last us at least 3 years at minimum into the future, or or is this such a big expense that we're like forced to grow into this big expense? Like, you don't want that situation, right? A
Right.
lot of them luckily have tiers and their pricing structures work for that kind of thing. But if you're really small today and you just have a few crews, you're probably going to be a lot different when you're doing $1 million a year or a few million bucks a year. You're probably going to have to change. Just think about it. How hard it's going to be to change, and if you should really take on that expense now or not.
Yeah. Yeah, and consider all the kind of factors that are unique to your business. Do you have divisions that you need split out in here? Is that going to cost you more to do that kind of division split up, or locations, right? You have different locations. What are the cost implications of that? If you plan to add a different location in the next year or two, like the CRM needs to be able to handle that. And are there other hidden costs like that you're not aware of? Like a lot of CRMs are really good at doing this, right? Like you use it up to this point and then it's like, oh, you're gated from that feature. You need to spend 1,000 more a month to get to that feature. So just be aware of that. Um, are there fees for training and support? That's another one. And I'll just say, like, from personal experience, like for a lot of platforms, like if there is the option to pay for kind of a white glove like implementation fee where I'm going to have a dedicated implementation specialist who's going to help me implement it, I almost always will pay that fee. Um,
Yeah,
I like it's just totally worth it.
a
Brandon's,
couple $1,000 or something for
oh yeah,
guided onboarding or concierge onboarding or whatever they want to call it.
yeah,
Almost always worth it. Even just the accountability of it, right? Like an individual emailing you and calling you and saying, "Hey, did you get all your properties set up yet? Or did you get this input? Or have your crew started using the thing?" Even
yeah,
just that side of it, let alone uh, you know the actual help setting up something that's quite complicated. Well
yeah.
worth it.
Totally. This, like I said before, this is a big implementation item. Like if you're changing or just getting into for the first time your CRM, like I a quick implementation would be like 6 months. And obviously it depends on the scale that you're getting in, but this is large. This is like 6 months a year. I mean, we've been implementing HubSpot, like I said, module by module over the years, but it's now been 5 years and we're like still constantly implementing it. We're constantly
Yeah,
changing and
there's
adding
like,
to it, like
you can look at that in a couple different ways, right? Like, obviously, you know this, but you could start off just doing estimating. Like,
totally.
most of my experiences with LMN. So you could start off and it's like, oh, this piece is very helpful. I'm going to start with that. I'm going to make sure we do that really well this year, and then I'm going to get into building out all my reports and all my dashboard next year. So we certainly still, we've been using LMN for 7 years or something, 7, 8 years. And still we discover new things, or they release a new feature. And it's like, damn, now we have to
Yeah,
implement this to everyone. Right.
yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
that's a good point.
Couldn't
Uh,
recommend the guided onboarding or implementation enough. Brandon's experienced this with HubSpot with us. Like we all use the same implementation person. Shout out to New York Julie.
yeah. Yeah.
Um, you can't get her now. She's no longer on the implementation team. She's been promoted,
She's
but
CEO or something. Yeah.
yeah. But cool. So that wraps up our list of what to look for. Any kind of final thoughts before we get into our speed round? Things that you've seen, just important notes.
Um, one thing I was thinking of that we didn't touch on is, if you have a lot of divisions that are vastly different, like you're doing like window cleaning, Christmas lights, lawn care, and um, pest care, like Furt and Squirt or something. Like, depending on the size of each of those divisions, you may run different CRMs, right? So you're going to be making a decision between, should I find one CRM/FSM that can kind of half-ass do these divisions, and maybe they're under 500 grand a year or something, so it doesn't make sense to run a whole nother software. But um, you know those are challenges that you'll come up against if your business isn't really niched down to just one of those things or one thing. And so that's certainly something to think about. Like there's fantastic CRMs that are specifically for like Christmas light installation, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And like if you do a lot of Christmas light installation, it's worth the training and the understanding and having that subscription to that one software for that division. But if you only do 10 installs a year, run it through whatever else you got. Yeah.
Shout out to Sarah at Holiday Home Lighting Solutions or Concepts.
Holiday Home Concepts, I believe it is.
Holiday Home Concepts. Yeah, I think that's
that's the best one out there if you do holiday lighting.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, I think that's more or less it. I think we covered some pretty good things here. Yeah, one last common one that you'll see kind of on the checklist, they'll say like, we integrate with everything, or don't worry, we integrate with all the other softwares. Super beware on that. Watch for Zapier. Like Zapier is awesome software, but you should understand what it is. It's like a middleman connector. So it's like when you don't, it's basically when you don't like have a native integration with a software, you can use Zapier to kind of connect you, but that gives you the ability to say, we integrate with all of these other things.
Yeah.
But you really don't, right? Like,
yeah. So, and it's usually fairly limited. It's like you can do these actions. You can these things can trigger integration or a zap, or these things can be the actions that you can do. So it can be pretty limited.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be like you created a new estimate in software A, and then it tells Zapier you made a new estimate, and then Zapier tells Canva to make you a portrait and email it to your grandma or something. It's like, why would you want to do that?
Right.
It's not a native integration that's actually useful.
Right. Cool. So before we get in the speed round, it's last call. Cheers me.
That's one of mine. Cheers.
Let's get in the speed round. I'm asking you the questions first this time.
I'm ready.
What is the best resource or content on this topic?
Besides this podcast, I actually haven't seen, I watch a lot of podcasts and YouTube, and I haven't seen very many good CRM ones. So hopefully this lands and is valuable to a lot of people. But I think going into like forums and Facebook groups, and like industry related ones, like Lawn Site is one if you're a lawn guy. Facebook groups, there's ones specific to most CRMs. There's a really funny one. I'm not going to trash their name on here, but there's a Facebook group called Blank Misfits that's so funny because it's all of the people, as I understand it, it's people that get banned from the actual Facebook group because they're like
of a CRM.
Like a CRM. It's a CRM's like official Facebook group, but then people complained too much or they swore in the comments or something, so they get banned from the group, and then they join this Misfits version of the group, which is hilarious.
Pretty awesome.
So that's a great CRM too, by the way, if you figure out what I'm talking about. But they all have their missed opportunities. So join those and just ask questions and see what people are saying. Caveat to that, make sure that you're getting feedback from people with similar businesses, because like my business could not run on the same thing Jason's business runs on, because we have different average job size, different customer types, different services, all the things we previously mentioned. So you might have somebody completely trashing it, but it would work great for you. So make sure you're talking to the right person.
Good point.
How about you?
Well, no, you have to ask me the questions later.
Oh, sorry. I forgot how this works.
What is the best advice you've received or the biggest win you've had?
So we use Element. We use Element in HubSpot. So I'll say twofold here. So Element, we've had training. We've attended training sessions with Mark Bradley, and those were like mind blowing. Just for the, even if you don't use LMN, attend those for just like landscape business advice and coaching. Phenomenal sessions. They're usually like, you can find him at conferences, or he does many speaking engagements through the year. But if that's an option, whether it's online or in person, attend those for your software. And then for HubSpot, we actually had Jason break into Canada during COVID, and him and JB, his business partner, came up and helped us implement HubSpot. So I think just in-person training, that's my biggest recommendation there.
Cool. What's the biggest blunder you've made or seen others make?
So going in, like going too big too early on the software, primarily custom builds. So I mentioned somebody went hard on Salesforce. I've seen it with Zoho as well. And they're not huge companies, and they just end up spending tens, towards $100,000 in customizations and things like that. And
was it a window cleaning company with Salesforce?
Yeah, window cleaning company. That was probably the biggest one, but
I heard
it can seem really attractive because you're just like, oh, we can get this all custom built, but then you end up just paying like crazy. So I'd be careful with that. Too early anyway, like when you're too small. And then a super common one is just like signing up for the software is like the easiest part, right? Like it's like implementing the thing is not easy, especially holding the line with staff and actually making it day to day, like in your business. That is the hard part. So you're going to get this bill every month, and it's up to you. Like if you're not assigning someone to build this into your business and implement it, that's on you. It's not on the software. Like someone has to understand how this works. Someone has to get it in there. And I think that is probably even more common, the most common.
Cool.
Yeah. How about you? What's the best resource you found on this?
I'd just say other contractors that are using the CRM you're considering. So you mentioned Facebook groups. That's a great resource for this, but just ask around. Like you'll find someone who's using the CRM that you're considering, and just try to connect with them personally so you can ask them your specific questions about your list. That's the big one, is like make sure you have your list ready, and that you can say like, I needed to do this, I needed to do this, I needed to do this. They can speak really easily to like, yeah, it's going to do that, doesn't do this really well. And I find that most people are pretty willing to share those things, and we've had good luck with that.
Yeah, for sure. Best advice you've received, or the biggest win?
Just take it step by step. This is not an overnight implementation. So this you mentioned this earlier, but like chunk it out. Like when we first implemented HubSpot, we only implemented the sales portion of it, like the sales pipeline and the CRM, right? So CRM and sales portion. Then like after like a year of running that really well, we did the service ticketing, customer service ticketing. And then we started implementing like the production side, like creating jobs and visits inside of HubSpot and those sorts of things. So yeah, chunk it out, be realistic about the time it's going to take, and don't be afraid to like get the first thing done really well before you move on to the next thing.
Absolutely. Biggest mistake, biggest blunder you've seen?
Seen and done in my case, which is choosing a walled garden, as I like to call it. And what I mean by that is just something that does not integrate well with other tools. So it's really easy to get sold on the flashiness of a all-in-one solution, and there is no all-in-one solution. I think we've said that multiple times through here. Like inevitably you're going to want some other tool to do something in your flow. It might be something very simple. It might just be time tracking. It might be like just a silly simple little thing, but it becomes a real pain when you can't move data from your primary tool, your primary CRM and FSM, you can't move that data automatically. You have to now hire someone to literally just type things over and over and over again, data entry from one tool to the other tool. So that walled garden thing, like, just don't be tricked by the all-in-one solution thing. We should like really push the software companies that we're all using to play better with each other and make sure that they're integrating well and that they're creating a solution that works for us.
Tell that to IssueID.
We're not a walled garden.
It's on the list. It's on the feature list.
We've got a Zapier integration, which
we integrate
allows
with everybody.
and we got a Zapier integration. We do integrate with Company Cam, and that is like a huge. We're a new company. That is a huge thing on our roadmap, is to integrate with all the different tools.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Cool.
Yeah.
Anything to add?
Just found the banners section of the software. Look at that one. Someone has preloaded in here, local man eats salad.
That was JB. That's I believe that's a Simpsons reference, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
But I think JB added that.
Okay.
Nice.
He quit. He quit the podcast. He hasn't been around for a while.
I think he did like the first 2 with us, and then he abandoned us. He was like, "Oh, you guys seem to have figured it out. You can run this on your own."
I think we do. Yeah. Cool. All right.
I would love to hear from you. If you have a CRM that you love using, send it in the comments. No, I hear from you every day. If you have a CRM that you love using, send it in the comments. And also, seriously, if you have questions about what CRM might be the best fit for you, we might be able to offer some feedback based on our experience. If we don't know, maybe we can point you in the right direction. So drop that in the comments. Let us know what you were drinking. And thanks again for listening. Really appreciate it. We've been trying to grow this thing. So for those of you that have shared it, that have liked it, that have rated us and given us feedback and comments and reviews on all the different platforms, we really appreciate that. It helps us out a lot. So thanks very much. And we'll close out on that. So cheers.
Like, subscribe, and swipe right.
That's right.
Cheers.